We're live. Welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm Asa Merritt. This is a writing residency I've created for myself here on YouTube, documenting this book that I'm writing while I'm writing it, publishing it, selling it, touring it around the world, hopefully. I'm so glad you're here. I want to check in. I haven't checked in a little bit about how it's all going, the process of the book, kind of where I'm at as a writer. And so I wanted to dig in today, especially because one recent chapter of my writing life is coming to a close, and that is I just finished the winter McCormick Writing Center writing workshop. McCormick is formerly known as Tin House. This is a writing workshop that's been around a long time. They get great teachers, great writers. I had heard great things about Tin House, but got to experience it the last few weeks, and I am so grateful, deeply, deeply grateful for this moment. I feel such like an injection of creative energy, just like seeing so many professionals who have careers that I aspire to, who are making work like so amazing. And I had really rich kind of transformation during the workshop, which I want to talk about. So that's where things stand is tomorrow I have my kind of end of workshop meeting with the instructor, and then it's back to the book. So that's where things stand. I'm just checking the screen here, making sure the audio is coming okay. Oh, I put my excerpt on the screen. I did not mean to do that. Sneak peek. Anyway, so three things I really want to talk about today. I want to talk about kind of how this workshop had an impact for me as a writer in a kind of holistic sense, about what I look for, what I pay attention to, what kinds of process things affecting me by these specific writers and teachers that I had. I want to talk about how the workshop affected the piece that I brought to the workshop, which was a big decision. I was really torn about what story to bring to this workshop to put in the hands of these smart writers. And lastly, I want to talk about how the workshop is really kind of changing the way I'm thinking about the rest of the book. So that's the plan for the stream today. First things first, I can't really say enough positive things about this workshop. As an institution, Tin House, now McCormick, has its politics in the right place. They're very vocal and explicit about literature and what it should do, and how we need to change national narratives and conversations. That was all super inspiring. Personally, what happened during this workshop is I had the amazing experience, the deeply humbling experience of encountering other writers' work whose work it didn't immediately resonate for me. But what's more important is that it's not so much that it did or did not resonate with me. I just didn't understand it. And it was so wildly humbling to be in process with a bunch of other writers for whom whatever that writer was trying to do it was completely clear to them. And just to be a real beginner in a space, it just reminded me how new I am to writing fiction. My background, if it's your first time here, is in dramatic writing and screenwriting and so on. And just to be the beginner, to be in process with folks who are just dazzling me again and again and again with their level of analysis was such it was like a diagnostic tool. It was like, okay, in a few years from now, maybe I'll be able to speak this convincingly and eloquently and usefully about somebody else's work. So that was just kind of a big takeaway from a writer perspective, kind of identifying the things that I do know how to talk about, identifying the many things that I don't know how to talk about when it comes to like a critique environment in fiction. And yeah, if you get into this workshop, you should do it. It was great. It was great. Apply. That's good. My piece, that's where that screenshot comes. The piece hey there, Darnies. I'm so glad you're here. The piece that I workshopped for this McCormick Writing Center workshop was chapter 4 of this novel through stories that I'm writing right now. This is a literary fiction novel told through stories, right? So this form was kind of new to me. It's not a short story collection, but it is a novel length piece, a novel-like experience shared through various short stories of the main characters involved. I shared a chapter from this book, chapter 4, on the screen there is the opening paragraph of this book. And what I learned about this piece, what was most useful about the workshop for this project, was that I was really able to see things in the work that I wasn't seeing before. The workshop at its most valuable was when that happened, both when other writers and the teacher identified things that were really working that I wasn't aware of, or things that weren't working that I wasn't aware of. But interestingly, the most valuable feedback, I think, was about some things that are actually the piece really has going for it, but I could be even more precise about it. And that's kind of why I put this screenshot up here. I'll just read this. This is like the first sentence of the story. Evan. I open the door as slowly as I can, even though the back door never makes noise and my father never wakes up. If I wake him, he might do something terrible. So I press the handle of the door down slowly until it can't go farther, then pull the door towards me and walk through it, into the cold, and close it behind me. I lift the handle slowly, and when the latch slots home, it's as quiet as the ticks of the old clock ticking in the living room, which even now, when the ticking is the only sound, is still very quiet. I share that because like this kind of propulsive sentence, this kind of prose where it's like hurtling forward is characteristic of the piece. And going into the workshop, I really felt strongly about that. I was like, okay, this is a distinct, confident, stylistic mode that this story is living in. Run with this. But I got some really good notes about how there are places where I use this mode more precisely than others. And, I know I'm really getting into the weeds here, but just being pushed at that level of specificity around this is this thing you've got going, but like you could actually do it better if you were a little more precise. And essentially, without saying so, the writer was like, you kind of know what you're doing, but you don't fully know exactly, you got this sword and you're fighting with it and it's sharp, but like you don't actually know everything about it. Here are some things about it that you don't know. And it was just so eye-opening. So that was one takeaway from the workshop. I learned stuff about the characters, about where the characters could kind of be engaged with one another more richly, more deeply. It was just really useful all around. And then, another way in which the workshop was super helpful, and this comes to kind of the third part of what I want to talk about today, was in thinking about how I want to approach publication of this story. It got me thinking again about process, like what's the best way I can write this, the actual work of it, the labor that sets me up for both artistic and professional success. And during the course of the workshop, another story from this novel through stories, from this piece, got placed in a literary magazine. So happy about that. And it will be coming out in a few weeks and I'll be able to share it with y'all. But like what reprogrammed there for me a little bit was kind of the sort of feedback loop of that kind of both like artistic affirmation where it's like, okay, that this is great. This is work that's resonating with folks, and it's going to have readers. So there's that piece as well. But then from a process point of view, it also brought me back to why I've been writing short stories in the first place, which is that they're just more manageable. And so I'm trying to there's just a slight little shift that's happening where I'm trying to think less about the novel as a whole. Think less about what this novel through stories is, the sum of its parts. Stop thinking about the sum of its parts for a second, which in some ways is what the workshop also did. It's like, what's the book? What's the book? How are you going to sell your book? Da, 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 da. And going back to the parts. And so as I move forward in my writing process and drafting process right now, I want to again give myself permission to kind of what's the smallest technical challenge that I can do here? Write a short story. Yes, set it in this world. Yes, have these characters. But, maybe I write 25 stories in these world and only 10 make it into the novel and all of that will emerge. So that was kind of a recalibration that happened in the course of the workshop as well. So where do things stand? We're 4+ chapters in on this literary fiction novel through stories. We met some amazing writers, amazing readers. I got a zillion recommendations for books to read that could connect with my piece. A great thing about the workshop was it was such a diverse cohort, folks from all around the world, all different agents, all different backgrounds. Like everybody just had so many different tastes, like the perspectives that got brought in. I'm sitting with a list of things to read for this book. And, as I proceed, process-wise, where I'm at is this idea of like small, 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 small. Just write 5,000 good words. Don't worry about the novel. The novel is going to emerge. It happened already that you kept writing about the same characters. So it's doing its thing. That alchemy is happening independently. So just write 5,000 words and go get it published, because how good did that feel? Or is it going to feel when it comes out in a few weeks? Hey, Laura Huntress. Anyway, folks, that is the story from the last few weeks of my life here. I'm going to be working again today in about 40 minutes if anyone wants to hang out and write. I appreciate y'all, and I hope your projects are going well as well.